Greetings and salutations. I'm your boy Kami the Faded Saint, and this is Limited Series. Now, in my last video, I kind of came off as that guy. You know the one. The nerd who's hating on some TV show or some movie because it's not true to the source material. You know the person. Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings. I just want to explain myself a little bit. Vampire the Masquerade here is what I played in high school. A lot of the people who were in my original Vampire the Masquerade group are my friends still today. Some of them are my best friends. I keep in touch with them constantly. So when I say this is something that's near and dear to my heart, it's not just that it's something that I know a lot about. This was literally how I met the people who I've known for practically almost 2 decades at this point. So if I'm a little overbearing, kind of forgive me. But I'll try and temper it a little bit. At any rate, I can stall all I like, but there's no getting out of this one, and we have another episode to cover. So, let's get on with Episode 2, Prince of the City. We open our episode with Sonny and Frank in the police chief's office. Alexandra's death has changed him, and hey, Frank got a haircut! Anyway, they talk about an informant from the shipping union signing a confession, and this informant will be wearing a wire as they attempt to bust Eddie tonight. The chief points out that Eddie Fury will be a big nab, but Frank...
I want you and Luna.
The chief is having none of that, and he tells him to stay away from Luna, and finalizes the sting. We meet Paulie. That's original. On the docks, and they have a little back and forth on whether Paulie is a mobster or a union rep, and how much he actually benefits the people around him. If you've seen any cop show, you know this drill. The problem is, this is a vampire show, and when they send Paulie to talk to Eddie, he does the worst job in history of acting natural.
I know that, Eddie, but I got $1 million in bribes, in damn cash.
It's not good business.
Bribes. You took bribes. I was talking about the money we got coming for the sweat and blood our guys put out offloading those ships.
Yeah, pension money for the widows and the orphans.
I guess this tracks. I mean, Frank is a bad 50s cop. This is a bad 50s mobster. You know, I wonder, if you cut out all the vampire stuff, would this make a really good cop show? To the surprise of no one, he gets caught. And, Christ guys, how far away were you from the site? The cops rush in, but of course, once inside, they decide to spread up. Frank, like the doofus he is, goes off alone, because Frank is a maverick, man. He doesn't do police procedures. He happens across Paulie, with a freaking meat hook sticking out of his chest. Frank tries to help, but...
What the hell have you done, Frank?
You know, I would love to see the forensics report that somehow says a normal human did that. Dissolved outside, and Frank is trying to figure out how this all got so messed up when... Really?
Really?
So we're just giving everyone the same powers, huh? Just everyone can turn into wolves. Oh, and by the way, I don't care if Frank knows. Hit the counter. Eddie leaves him there. Back at the police station, Sasha's back, and she's in jail. Apparently she was caught beating down an off-duty cop at a roadhouse for roughing up his wife. Julian has come to bail her out under the condition that she comes home with him. Because nothing about this yells plot convenience. She's totally not going to be involved in some way later down the line. They head home and have a little back and forth, and then, back at the police station, weren't we just here? Anyway, Frank is pleading his case in front of the chief in internal affairs. Oh, and the chief throws this out there.
They read your report by the morning's light.
Who talks like that? IA points out that Frank has been ranting about vampires, and they honestly question whether he did jam that steak in Paulie. We're calling that a steak? Anyway, it's a valid point, actually. But Frank just flat out ignores them and says he's going after Eddie. And the chief just supports him and lets him go. I know we're trying to move the plot along here, guys, but if we could not make Frank's boss look like such a freaking idiot, that would be super. Back at the manor, Cash shows up and Sasha drools. There's some meaningful eye contact, some mild flirting.
Guess I'll just go out back and howl at the moon.
Honestly, it actually is a little charming. And then on to, oh, look, Haven got a makeover. Only one episode in. Anyway, Julian and Lily are about to get it on, and we'll just skip this up and move on to the entrance of this young reporter named Caitlin Byrne, played by Kelly Rutherford. She makes a beeline because she's doing a story on Julian, and apparently now we're down in here having dinner or something. Anyway, after a little back and forth with Lily, she makes herself scarce, and Caitlin and Julian talk about doing an interview. Since Julian has no papers or no history whatsoever. You know, you think that'd be a priority, having papers so that, you actually exist in the system, but apparently no, you've only thought of this now. Julian agrees, as long as it's over dinner. Cut to Frank at a diner.
Good morning, handsome. What can I get you?
Could I have a tomato juice?
That was not funny.
It's here, a whole episode in. We get the explanation for why vampires run around in the daytime.
Oh, no. We can go out in the day after we fed.
Julian offers to make the IA investigation go away, but Frank doesn't want his help. He wants Eddie. Julian says that if Frank can get him proof, he will attend to the rest. Now that's a proper prince acting there. Next, we are at the library and... Wait a minute. There are books on this? Like, giving all the clans and, like, all of the backstory? Just sitting there? Has Frank found the source material? Whatever. You would think something like a section of the library with extremely accurate information on the Kindred would have been dealt with long ago. But no. It's all right here for anyone with a library card to read. They list off some weaknesses and some powers, including psychometry, the ability to touch objects and see its history through its perspective. Remember that. It's important-ish. On to dinner with Julian and Caitlin. She asks about Alexandra, and he answers that they were once lovers. They're doing this silly question-for-question game, so Julian opens with this.
How long since you had a lover for more than one night?
Whoa, not a first date question, Julian. I swear, it's like we get two different versions of Julian Luna depending on the scene. This is bitchy Julian, who threatens to end the interview if she doesn't answer his question. For the most part, they go back and forth like this a couple of rounds when he hits her with...
What happened to you when you were a girl to make you feel your own emotions?
The hell, man? Do you just lose all tact when you turn into a vampire? I don't get what this is supposed to be. Is this supposed to be cute? Is this supposed to be smooth? What is this? Caitlin has rightfully had enough and ends the interview. So we go back to the manor where Sasha walks in on Cash revving her bike's engine. There's some back and forth flirting, using the bike as a surrogate for Sasha. Blarg. Cash derps at her advances, and she convinces him to take her to Haven. Back at Haven, Julian and Lily are dressing after vampire private time, when he asks Lily to back him in dealing with Eddie. Lily agrees on the condition that he ditches Caitlin. Julian isn't sure that that's the best idea, and Lily tries to disguise her concern as not wanting to be exposed. But you get what's really going on here. He also drops that he's buying Caitlin's newspaper. You just happen to be doing an article on me, so I'm just going to go ahead and buy the paper that you work for. No, I'm not trying to hide anything. Downstairs, Julian is annoyed to find Sasha and Cash. He admonishes Cash for bringing her out and tells her to bring her home, which she does, so that was pointless, I guess. Meanwhile, Eddie stalks Frank, wondering whether or not to kill him or embrace him. The next morning, Caitlin comes home and... The hell, Julian? Who waits in the bushes? Furthermore, why is she not worried he knows where she lives? So, of course, she tells him to shove off.
Would you like to come in?
Or invite him in for dinner, that's an option too. And here we have the biggest problem that the show has as a whole. throwing common sense aside in favor of plot convenience. Now, I've been a GM. I've had to get my players to the plot, so I understand cutting a few corners here and there. But let's be honest here. If you were Caitlin, you would have freaked the frack out. And for that matter, you would have tased Julian's ass when he jumped out of that bush. Nobody acts like this, not even in the 90s. And of course, inside they flirt more. He gives her one more question, and she asks,
I want to know why you're doing this to me.
What?
You know.
I guess creepy stalker slash mobsters are her type? But just as quickly she breaks it off, and Julian leaves. Back at the club, Lily taunts Julian about the meeting, as well she should. Frank shows up to say hi, I guess. Lily is introduced to him.
So what was it like to taste Alexander, Frank?
What is wrong with these freaking vampires? Seriously! So Frank is actually here to give Julian the pinky ring that he got off of Polly's body. So, you know, Julian can read it because vampires have psychometry, remember that little bit? Sonny and Eddie meet. He tells Sonny to go to Julian, and he's going to take care of Frank, and that's pretty much it. Back at the manor, Archon and Julian talk about Sasha, when Sonny comes in. Julian immediately accuses Sonny of being a traitor, like a good prince should, but as it turns out, it's all a ruse. Sonny is playing both sides against the middle, it seems, or more accurately, he's playing double agent. There's some more exposition here, but it's nothing we don't already know. The punchline is that he makes Sonny be the voice and drop off a phosphorus gun to help Frank survive. And it's conclave time. Julian lays out who killed Polly and points out that they have the ring. In a drawn-out fashion, all of the Primogen take it, and we look in to see it was the nameless other guy that did it. But Eddie is still on the hook, as he is that vampire's sire, and the Conclave decides whether he lives or dies. Archon and Cash vote for Eddie's death. Deeds and Lily votes against, saying that only the other guy deserves to die. Ties go to Defender, and Eddie wins his life. Back at Frank's, other guy stalks in, ready to kill him while he's sleeping. But no, Frank isn't asleep. He was waiting. I'm so surprised. Frank flat out kills him, and somehow the IA investigation is going to go away despite the fact that he discharged a grenade launcher in his home?
There's no way you could perpetrate that amount of carnage and mayhem and not incur a considerable amount of paperwork.
Under the plot dispensing light post, Frank and Julian talk, because I guess they're pals now or something. Frank wants Eddie, but Julian insists to leave it up to them. Julian tells Frank to back off and let them take care of their own, and say they need to work together. Frank isn't happy about this. Julian then arrives back at Caitlin's and informs her that he's bought her paper. And then he wants her to be the editor of the paper, and you want to know what? I'm done. The episode is just as bad as the first. Maybe even a little worse. I mean, yeah, they explain some stuff with the library exposition of doom, but for the most part, it's just stupid. I mean, the only thing that you really missed that I cut off there at the end is Julian turning into a bird and then flying to Caitlin's balcony, turning into a dude, and then watching her sleep. This episode is just whatever. Frank, over the length of the episode, goes from hating all vampires to being okay with them. Julian shows some flair of being a good prince, but then just derps out whenever Caitlin is around. Eddie is just barely in the episode and managed to be completely ineffective. And Caitlin. Dear God, Caitlin. She's the typical 50s love interest. Supposedly all smart and independent, but all that flies out the window once Julian Luna makes googly eyes at her. Honestly, the most entertaining part of this episode is Cash and Sasha, and they get like 2 minutes of screen time, and it's not even towards the plot. You'll also notice that I've cut Lily out completely because, well, all of her scenes are pointless. I remember the series not being good, but I don't remember it being quite this bad. Let's just get the wrap-up done. I give Kindred the Embraced, Episode 2, Prince of the City, -1 Dean Ambrose getting his head crushed. Out of 5. I'm your boy Kami, and what did I do to deserve this?